that included, we're not going to touch the animals, just the vegetation. Why is it that in the fresh start, God didn't say the same thing to Noah? Especially because it says that he was righteous, he and his family were righteous. They were the only righteous ones. That's why they were the only ones that were able to survive the flood. Yet now he's actually giving them a broader allowance. So what would you respond to that? I know I talked so much, but what would you say to that?
No, that's great. So I'm gonna cover Genesis 9. I'm going to cover, will you take a note? Genesis 9, Acts 10, because mainly I want to remember, and I also don't want to go on too many tangents. Not saying you were, I'm just saying I want to stay on. So Genesis 9, Acts 10, you said something philosophical. The law thing.
Would God be able to break his own laws?
Okay, God.
And maybe that's a good one to start with, because maybe starting with that would help us just.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll start with that. And even as a preface to that, I'll start with Jesus, because Jesus is everything, right?
Of course,
So in one kind of clean statement that we could unpack for the rest of the podcast, I would say, starting with Jesus, regardless of what happened with Noah and in that covenant, the time's up. So Jesus is about the kingdom of heaven here on earth now, and we have access and the ability to manifest it on earth. And then it's a question of what is that kingdom? And that kingdom is a reflection of that Edenic ideal. When we see in Isaiah 11, Revelation, Isaiah 11 says the
prophecy about
the wolf shall lay with the lamb, the lion will eat straw like the ox. They shall not hurt nor destroy on my holy mountain. That word destroy is the Hebrew shakath, which this is going to come into play with Genesis.
We should write that down about Isaiah 11, because I have a question I want to ask you about that, but please continue.
So that Hebrew in Isaiah 11, they shall not hurt nor destroy. Shakath is a Hebrew root similar to Shakita and Shoket, the words for the priest who slays, and the process, Shakita, of slaying the animal. So really the text in Isaiah is kind of saying, not kind of, it is saying, they shall not hurt nor participate in slaughter in this heavenly kingdom. And we see that reflected with the rest of the text, where it talks about the non-predation of the animals. We see that in Revelation 21:4, no more death, no more tears. We see that in Revelation 22:2. That the trees of the river of life will be providing fruits for the seasons. So in every way, freedom of the oppressed, et cetera. I mean, I can tell you right now, 90 billion animals around the world being killed for food every single year, 99% of them in factory farms, which is the most horrific conditions that would make Pope Francis, I can say this confidently, roll in his grave. It's horrific.
Yeah, you're right.
So, that is hell on earth. That's not the kingdom of heaven. So that would be where I would start, is like, it starts there. So everything else that we talk about is a little bit, in my opinion, irrelevant to that conversation. But let's go back, because it's fun. I enjoy talking about it, and what are the nuances. So Genesis 9, firstly, let's lay a little framework of how we even got there. Because I know you mentioned, well, is it saying in Genesis 1:29 that it's only fruits and plants and such? Well, I would say the overwhelming consensus is that God, it was an only claim in and of the sense that not even the animals ate each other. There was a non-predation in Genesis 1:30, and you see this thread all the way up until the flood as this Noah as being this righteous one, right? And even the most fundamentalists So another fun fact, I grew up so deep Protestant, Southern Baptist Christian, that I was steeped in like creationism. So I went to Ken Ham retreats. You know Ken Ham, right?
Course, yeah.
So my first Ken Ham, this is a little quick backstory, just to perspective. But this all, just so everyone knows, I'm the farthest and last person that would ever be preaching this. It's not like I grew up a Seventh-day Adventist or some fringe sect.
You used to hunt, right?
I hunted,
fished, and
big time fisherman, and my stepfather owned a barbecue restaurant my whole childhood. So it was not easy for me to get to this position, but I had to really face some facts to get there. So the facts are that when I was 8 years old, I'm in a Ken Ham retreat, and he's talking about the Garden of Eden in a creationism perspective, and he's arguing hardcore that it was vegetarian. Even the dinosaurs were vegetarian in his position. And people are arguing with him from the crowd. Well, what about this and what about this? And he stood his ground, and I'm an 8-year-old listening, thinking, whoa, that's awesome, you know? And then as I grew up and I saw the Daniel fast come on the scene, I took hold to it, because probably I got a little bit of Catholic and Orthodox in me, and that Protestants don't have a Lent. We don't have that thing, you know?
Right.
So the Daniel fast became that for me in my family when I was about 17, 18 years old. And I took it very seriously, which is, again, just really quickly, the biblical prophet Daniel, when he's enslaved to Babylon, eats only vegetables and water to abstain from the king's court food. And he tests after 10 days, wiser, stronger, healthier than all the king's men. So it's a dietary, it was a little bit of a fad thing that happened. It's still happening today, but it was really popular a while ago. And I did that. And through that process, it opened my mind to what I was consuming, which then led to some of these deeper ethical questions. And ultimately, what does Jesus have to say about this? So all that said, going back to this kind of the most fundamentalist creationist ideal even is that there's this idea that Noah's righteousness, there was no animal consumption. Hence why in Genesis 9, there is this allowance. There's this new, just as I gave you the plants, now in this moment, I give you this, right? So these are kind of how we understand that the beginning was plant-based and that slaughter wasn't God's ideal or permitted or allowed in any way, right? Right. So now, obviously, Cain, you've got situations that lead to a split in the genealogies and the nations and how things begin to operate. One thing I'll point out before Genesis 9, though, is in Genesis 6. We have, again, another rabbit hole for another.
Especially for the fundamentalists, right? Right.
So we got Genesis 6. We got this obscure notion of the sons of God and the coming into the daughters of men. And in there, it says that through this process of what happened in that time, the earth devolved to the lowest of the low points it could be, to where this flood was basically inevitable. This reset was inevitable. And the description there of God's sadness around humanity's state was that man had the earth had become full of violence and corruption. That all flesh had become corrupted. Now, again, remember what I said, that word corrupted, it's that same Hebrew in the Isaiah vision, shakath. So it's this idea that's linked fundamentally to the destruction of flesh, the slaughter of flesh. Now, because I laid this framework out earlier, I'm going to take off my high church hat for just 1 second for anyone who cares about this, that if you go to the Book of Enoch, which I know some people, Ethiopic church holds it as canon, etc. Enoch expands on this idea in Enoch 7:14, where it says that the Nephilim, these offspring of this moment in Genesis 6, that they began to devour everything. And when you look into the Aramaic or the Gaiz, the Ethiopian understanding or version of this text, I think translated by R.H. Charles, it says that the Nephilim began to consume the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and the fish, consume their flesh one after the other and consume their blood. And connects this to the same fall of warfare with Azazel and some of these other concepts that are kind of like in the Enochian tradition that really permeated the time of Jesus, right? So
wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.